The research station floated quietly at the edge of known space, turning slowly like it was asleep. From the outside it looked calm and peaceful, a ring of metal and light against the dark stars. Inside it was never truly quiet. Different species walked its halls, spoke in different sounds, breathed different air mixes, and lived together under strict rules meant to keep everything stable. Evan Hale had been on the station for 6 months, and he still felt like a visitor. He was human, and humans were new to this part of space. Not unwanted, but not fully understood either. Evan's job was simple on paper and difficult in reality. He was a xenolinguist, trained to study alien languages and cultures without interfering. Observe, record, learn, and never get involved. He took that rule seriously. Evan was in one of the shared research wings when the lights flickered for the first time. He paused, looking up from his tablet. The station lights were designed not to flicker. They dimmed smoothly, adjusted slowly, and always warned before changing. This flicker was wrong. Around him, other researchers stopped what they were doing. A tall, blue-skinned being with 4 eyes tilted its head. A small, insect-like technician froze halfway up a wall panel. The air hummed differently, like the station itself was holding its breath. Evan's tablet buzzed with a system message. Minor power fluctuation detected. Please remain calm. He frowned. The message said minor, but the station rarely lied unless something was very wrong. A second later, the gravity shifted just enough for Evan to feel it in his stomach. Not enough to throw anyone, but enough to be noticed. Somewhere far away, a low alarm sounded, deep and slow. That alarm was not for humans. Evan knew that much. The Cathari reacted first. Lyra was standing across the room reviewing a glowing data field that floated in front of her long, delicate fingers. She was Cathari. Tall and slender, with skin like pale silver glass and eyes that reflected light instead of absorbing it. Her species moved with careful grace, and they were known for their calm minds. When the alarm sounded, Lyra's posture changed instantly. Her shoulders straightened, and her fingers curled inward, touching the small symbols woven into the fabric at her chest. Her eyes widened. Evan noticed because she was usually the calmest person in the room. "Cathari emergency signal," she said softly, her voice carrying a strange echo. "This is not scheduled." Other Cathari in the wing began to gather together without being told. They moved toward the center of the room, forming a loose circle. Their breathing slowed, their voices lowered. Evan stayed where he was. He reminded himself of the rule again. Observe. Do not interfere. The station lights dimmed further. This time the dimming did not stop. A new message appeared on Evan's tablet. This one more urgent. Core synchronization instability detected. Psychological cohesion protocols active. Evan read the words twice. Psychological cohesion? That was not a human protocol. Before he could think more about it, the floor beneath his feet warmed slightly. Lines of faint light appeared, spreading outward in smooth curves. They were not part of the room's design. They formed patterns that felt old, deliberate, and deeply unfamiliar. The Cathari circle tightened. Lyra stepped forward, her expression controlled but tense. She spoke in her native language, her voice rising and falling in a rhythmic pattern. Evan's translation implant struggled, offering only partial meanings. Bind. Center, shared focus, survival continuity. Evan took a step back. He was too close. The lights on the floor expanded, reaching him before he could move away. One of the glowing lines curved around his foot, warm but not painful. He froze, heart pounding. "This is not for you," Lyra said suddenly, turning toward him. For the first time since he had met her, she sounded afraid. "Human, move away, now." "I'm trying," Evan said, lifting his foot. The line followed him, adjusting smoothly, like it was alive. The gravity shifted again. This time, it lasted longer. The station alarm deepened, adding a second tone that vibrated through Evan's bones. Somewhere far above, something heavy moved, metal sliding against metal. Lyra looked around at the other Kethari. Their eyes reflected the glowing lines, making them look like living mirrors. One of them spoke urgently, and Lyra's jaw tightened. "We cannot stop," she said. "The ritual has begun." "Ritual?" Evan repeated. "What ritual?" But she was already turning away, raising her hands as the light climbed higher, forming pillars around the circle. The air felt thick, charged, like before a storm. Evan was now standing at the edge of the circle. Or inside it. He could not tell. The translation implant buzzed painfully as the Cathari voices synchronized, overlapping into something that sounded less like speech and more like music. The words became clearer as they repeated, as if the ritual itself was forcing meaning into Evan's mind. Unity in crisis, shared anchor, chosen bond. Evan swallowed. "No," he whispered. No, I did not agree to this." The lines of light responded, pulsing gently. The station shuddered. For a brief, terrifying moment, Evan thought the station was breaking apart. Then the movement stopped. The alarms cut off, mid-tone. The gravity stabilized. The lights stopped dimming and slowly returned to normal brightness. Silence fell. The glowing lines faded from the floor, leaving behind smooth metal as if nothing had happened. Evan realized he was breathing too fast. He forced himself to slow down. Looking around, the Cathari circle remained, but their posture had changed. Some looked relieved, some looked confused. Lyra stood very still at the center. Then she turned and looked directly at Evan. Her eyes were bright, reflecting the room's lights in sharp, clear points. Her expression was unreadable, like someone waking from a dream they did not understand. She took one step toward him. Every Cathari in the room inhaled sharply. Evan felt something strange then. Not pain. Not fear exactly. A sense of pressure behind his eyes, like a thought trying to form that was not fully his. Lyra raised her hand and placed it lightly over the symbol at her chest. "In accordance with the emergency cohesion rite," she said, her voice steady but very loud in the quiet room, "I declare this human, Evan Hale, as my chosen mate." The words echoed, not through sound, through Evan. The pressure behind his eyes vanished, replaced by a sudden clear awareness of Lyra's presence. He did not hear her thoughts, but he felt her focus, sharp and intense, locked onto him. The room exploded into motion. Voices rose. Cathari spoke over one another in rapid bursts. Other species backed away, confused and alarmed. Evan stood frozen, his mind struggling to catch up. "What?" he said intelligently. Lyra blinked, as if she had just realized what she said. Her fingers trembled slightly. The ritual completed. It chose what? Evan asked. She looked around, clearly overwhelmed. "It chose you." Evan laughed once, short and sharp, because that was better than panicking. "I think there has been a mistake." "There is no mistake," said an older Cathari, stepping forward. Their voice was calm but heavy. "The rite only accepts viable anchors. It stabilized the station." As if to prove the point, Evan's tablet chimed softly. "Core synchronization restored. All systems stable." Evan stared at the message. Then he looked back at Lyra. "I don't even know what your ritual does," he said quietly. "It binds two minds under crisis conditions," she replied, "usually within our species, to create a focus point, a shared center." "Mate," Evan said. "You said mate." Her cheeks darkened slightly, a Cathari sign of embarrassment. "The closest translation. It does not mean what humans think it means." "Not exactly." "That's not comforting," Evan said. Around them, the station returned to normal activity, but the feeling in the room had changed. People were watching, whispering, Recording. Lyra straightened her posture, forcing calm back into her voice.
We need to report this to the council.
Yes, Evan agreed quickly.
Yes, we absolutely do. She hesitated, then added softly, I am sorry. Evan looked at her, really looked at her, and saw that she was just as shocked as he was. Me too, he said. As they walked out of the research wing together, side by side without touching, Evan had the strange feeling that something very important had just happened. Something no one on the station had planned. Something that, somehow, had chosen him. The council chamber was quiet in a way that made Evan uncomfortable. It was not the peaceful quiet of rest, but the careful silence of many different species choosing their thoughts before speaking. The room was wide and circular, with soft light coming from the ceiling instead of walls. Each species sat or stood in a way that suited their bodies, but all eyes were on the same place. Evan. He sat on a simple human chair that felt far too small for the moment. His hands rested on his knees, fingers tight. Lyra stood beside him, straight-backed, her hands folded in front of her chest symbol. She had not touched him since the ritual ended, but Evan could still feel her presence clearly, like standing close to a warm light. The feeling did not go away. An elder Cathari spoke first. Its voice was smooth, slow, and carried easily through the room. The emergency cohesion rite was activated automatically by the station when core instability reached a critical level. This is confirmed. A floating display showed data streams and energy graphs. Evan understood enough to know one thing. The station really had been in danger. Another council member, tall and covered in soft gray fur, leaned forward. The station is stable now. More stable than before. Yes, the elder replied. Because the ritual succeeded? Evan cleared his throat. The sound felt too loud. Excuse me, he said. I understand the station was in trouble. I understand something happened. But I did not agree to be part of any ritual. And I definitely did not agree to be declared someone's mate. Several council members shifted. Lyra's head lowered slightly. The rite does not ask, the elder said. It selects. That seems like a problem, Evan replied. His voice was calm, but his heart was racing, especially when it involves someone from another species who does not understand the rules. Lyra finally spoke. Human Evan Hale is correct. This outcome was not expected. The rite has never selected outside our species before. A soft murmur spread through the room. Evan turned to look at her. Then why did it pick me? Lyra hesitated. I do not know. But I felt it. The station was slipping. Minds were fracturing under stress. When you were drawn into the circle, the ritual changed. How? Evan asked. It stabilized faster, she said quietly. More cleanly, like it found something it needed. The council went silent again. A small floating being with glowing rings around its body spoke next. The bond remains active. Evan stiffened. Bond? Yes, it replied. The emergency cohesion bond formed by the ritual. It has not faded. As if reacting to the words, Evan felt that strange pressure again. Gentle, but clear, he became aware of Lyra's emotional state. Not thoughts, just feelings. Focus. Tension. Worry. He swallowed. Can it be undone? He asked. The elder Cathari answered slowly. No emergency bond has ever been undone. That's not acceptable, Evan said before he could stop himself. Lyra turned sharply toward him, surprise flashing across her reflective eyes. Evan took a breath. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be rude, but humans believe strongly in choice. Being bound without consent is not something we take lightly. The elder studied him for a long moment. You were not harmed. No, Evan agreed. But that doesn't mean I'm comfortable. the floating being rotated slowly. The bond does not compel behavior. It creates alignment, shared awareness, mutual responsibility. That sounds worse, Evan muttered. Lyra's shoulders shifted, a sign of discomfort in her species. The bond requires cooperation. If either side rejects it fully, the effects become unstable. Evan looked at her. Unstable how? She met his gaze. Emotionally, cognitively, for both of us. The words settled heavily between them. So, Evan said slowly, if I panic, you suffer. And if you panic, I suffer. Yes, Lyra replied. The council chamber felt smaller. The elder Ketheri raised a hand. This is why the rite is only used in extreme emergencies. It forces unity when chaos threatens survival. Evan leaned back slightly, staring up at the ceiling. I came here to study languages. Silence followed. After a long pause, the council reached a decision. Evan and Lyra would be placed under observation. The bond would be studied, not interfered with. They would continue their duties, but remain in close proximity. Close proximity? Evan repeated. For stability, the elder said. Lyra nodded slowly.
Distance weakens synchronization,
Evan sighed.
Of course it does. They left the chamber together. The corridor outside was quiet, but not empty.
Evan could feel eyes on them, curiosity thick in the air. Some species stared openly. Others pretended not to look. Lyra walked beside him, her steps perfectly measured. This is awkward, Evan said finally. Yes, she agreed. They reached a junction and stopped. The station lights reflected softly off her skin. Up close, Evan could see tiny patterns moving beneath the surface, like slow currents. I want to be clear, Evan said. I don't blame you. Her eyes widened slightly. You do not? No. You didn't choose this either. She let out a slow breath. Thank you. They stood there, uncertain. Then something unexpected happened. Evan felt calmer. The anxiety that had been twisting in his chest eased slightly. His thoughts became clearer, more organized. He realized the feeling was not coming from him alone. Lyra noticed too. Her posture relaxed, just a little. The bond is stabilizing, she said softly. You are accepting it. I wouldn't go that far, Evan replied. But I'm just not fighting it right now.
That may be enough, she said. They were assigned adjacent living quarters.
Human standard, with environmental adjustments for Cathari comfort. The station had worked fast, too fast. Evan stood in his room later, staring at the wall. He could feel Lyra through the bond, faint but present. She was in her own room, trying to focus, trying not to think about him. That made him think about her more. This is ridiculous, he muttered. The bond pulsed gently, like a quiet response. Evan sat on his bed and closed his eyes. He focused on slowing his breathing, something he had learned during long space travel. The pressure eased again. On the other side of the wall, Lyra felt it. She had never experienced calm like this during an emergency bond. Usually there was constant tension, constant urgency. With Evan, it felt different, balanced, grounded. It scared her. She pressed her hand to her chest symbol, feeling the warmth beneath it. This should not be possible, she whispered. Hours later, they met again in a shared workspace. No council members, no observers, just them. I think, Evan said carefully, we need rules. Lyra tilted her head. Rules. Boundaries, he explained. Until we understand this bond better, she considered. That is reasonable. Good, Evan said. Rule 1, honesty. If something feels wrong, we say it. Agreed, Rule 2. No decisions about my future or yours without talking first. Yes. Rule 3. Evan hesitated. We don't call this a mating bond. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Lyra's cheek darkened again. I accept this rule. They shared a small, awkward silence. Then Lyra said something unexpected. You are very calm for a human. Evan smiled slightly. We get that a lot, usually when things are already falling apart. She studied him with new interest. Across the station, sensors quietly recorded something unusual. Wherever Evan and Lyra worked together, stress indicators dropped. System efficiency rose by small but measurable amounts. The station was not just stable. It was better, and no one yet understood why. The station had settled into a new rhythm, though most of its inhabitants did not realize it. Systems ran smoothly. Energy use dropped slightly. Small problems corrected themselves before becoming large ones. To the station's monitoring systems, everything looked fine. To Evan Hale, everything felt strange. 3 days had passed since the council decision. 3 days of shared workspaces, careful conversations, and a bond that refused to fade into the background. Evan could still feel Lyra's presence, not constantly, but enough to remind him he was no longer alone in his own head. It was not loud. It was not controlling. It was simply there. Evan sat at a wide table in a shared analysis room, scrolling through translation data. Lyra worked across from him, her fingers moving gracefully through layers of floating symbols. They had settled into this position without discussing it. Close enough for the bond to feel stable, far enough to keep things from feeling uncomfortable, at least, mostly.
You are focusing very hard, Lyra said without looking up. Evan blinked.
Was I? Yes, she replied. Your mental patterns sharpened suddenly. He sighed.
That's unsettling. I imagine it is, she said. It unsettles me as well. They shared a small pause. Mini shadows. Evan leaned back in his chair. Does the bond usually
Do this? No, Lyra said honestly. Emergency bonds are intense.
urgent? They push both participants toward a single goal: survival. This one feels different. How different? Evan asked. She hesitated. It feels, cooperative instead of forced. Evan nodded slowly. That sounds like a human thing. She looked at him then, truly looking. That is what concerns the council. He smiled faintly. Join the club. Later that day, Evan was called to assist with a mixed species coordination drill. Normally, he would have declined. His role was cultural analysis, not operations. But the request came directly from station oversight, and Lyra was already assigned. The drill was simple: a simulated environmental imbalance in one sector, requiring quick cooperation between species with different needs. No danger, no panic. At least, that was the plan. When they arrived, tension was already high. A group of technicians argued over priority access. Different species processed urgency differently, and the station AI struggled to balance them all. Evan felt the bond shift. Lyra straightened, her focus sharpening. Evan felt it too, like a shared breath. Without thinking, he spoke. Everyone pause, Evan said, his voice clear but calm. We're not in danger yet. Let's slow this down. Several beings turned toward him, surprised. The air balance issue affects 3 zones, he continued. Not 1. If we argue about access, we lose time. If we split into teams based on environmental tolerance, we fix it faster. The room grew quieter. Lyra stepped forward smoothly. He is correct. This approach reduces strain on all systems. The technicians hesitated, then nodded. They moved into action, coordination improving quickly. As the drill ended successfully, Evan felt something strange. Pride, not personal pride. Shared pride. Lyra felt it too. Their eyes met briefly, understanding passing between them without words. Afterward, the station AI recorded the result. Resolution time reduced by 23%. Stress indicators significantly lower than average. The council noticed. That evening, Evan paced his room, restless. The bond hummed faintly, reflecting Lyra's own unsettled thoughts. He stopped pacing and pressed his hands together. "This is happening too easily," he said aloud. On the other side of the wall, Lyra paused in her work. "I agree," she replied softly, though they were not in the same room. Evan blinked. "Did I say that out loud, or—" "You said it aloud," she confirmed. "But I was thinking the same," he exhaled, slowly. "Okay. That's less creepy." She almost smiled. The next day brought more attention. Researchers requested Evan's input on Cathari cultural systems. Engineers asked him to sit in on planning meetings, not because he was the most qualified, but because things seemed to work better when he was present. Evan noticed. He also noticed how tired Lyra became when they were apart for too long. She noticed it too. "This is not sustainable," she said during a quiet moment in the observation garden, a space filled with softly glowing plants from many worlds.
What part? Evan asked. All of it, she replied.
"The bond draws stability from proximity, but we cannot remain attached at all times." Evan nodded. "Humans aren't great with forced closeness." "That also concerns the council," she admitted. He smiled gently.
You're worried about me? She hesitated.
"I am aware of your discomfort. That's concern," he said. She accepted that. Later that cycle, the station experienced another issue. Not a failure, a potential cascade. Minor, but growing. Normally, it would have triggered standard protocols. Instead, the station AI flagged something unusual. It requested Evan and Lyra specifically. They arrived together, feeling the bond tighten as they approached the affected sector. The air felt thick, systems struggling to rebalance. Evan closed his eyes briefly. "What do you feel?" he asked. Lyra focused. "The system is overcorrecting. Too many automated responses. They conflict." Evan nodded. "Like too many people trying to help at once." "Yes. Can you ask the AI to slow down?" he asked. "I can suggest," she said. "Do it," Evan replied. "Frame it as a cooperative adjustment, not a shutdown." She did. The AI responded almost immediately, adjusting its behavior. The imbalance eased. Later analysis showed something impossible. The AI had adapted faster than its learning models predicted. The council was no longer just curious. They were concerned. Evan was summoned alone this time. The elder Cathari studied him carefully. "You influence systems beyond your intended role." Evan spread his hands. "I'm not trying to." "That may be the problem," the elder said. "The bond amplifies natural traits. Your species appears to have a unique ability to integrate under pressure." Evan thought of Earth, of human history, of chaos and survival. "We don't do well alone," he said quietly. "But we're good at pulling together when things go wrong." The elder considered this. "That aligns with our observations." "Then maybe stop treating me like an anomaly," Evan said, "and start treating this like a partnership." Silence followed. When Evan returned to the garden, Lyra was waiting. "They questioned you," she said. "Yes." She stepped closer. "Are you angry?" "No," Evan replied. "Just tired." The bond softened, like a shared sigh. "I did not expect a human to handle this with such calm," she admitted. He smiled. We've had practice. They stood among the glowing plants, neither touching, neither needing to. Across the station, data continued to accumulate. Human involvement. Cathari bond. Improved outcomes. The galaxy had not noticed yet, but it would. Because for the first time, an emergency ritual had not just saved a station, it had revealed something new about humanity, something powerful, something dangerous, and something hopeful. The news did not spread all at once. It moved quietly, like a change in air pressure that only sensitive instruments noticed at first. Data logs showed patterns, reports mentioned improved coordination. Small comments appeared in meeting summaries. Wherever Evan Hale was assigned, outcomes improved. Wherever Lyra worked beside him, stress indicators dropped. At first, the council treated it as coincidence. Then coincidence repeated itself too many times. Evan sat in another meeting room, smaller than the council chamber but far more crowded. Representatives from engineering, psychology, and systems oversight filled the space. Lyra stood beside him again, calm on the surface, alert beneath it. A projection floated between them, showing layered graphs. "These are not random results," said a thin, many-armed analyst. "We isolated variables. When either of them works alone, performance improves slightly. When they work together, improvement increases sharply."
Evan rubbed his forehead. "You're making it sound like we're equipment."
"You are a factor," the analyst replied. "An unprecedented one." Lyra's voice remained steady. "What is being proposed?" A pause followed. That pause told Evan more than words. The station director spoke carefully. "We wish to test whether this effect can be replicated." "Replicated how?" "By placing humans in leadership or stabilizing roles during high-stress, multi-species operations," the director said, "with Cathari liaisons trained in bond-compatible frameworks." Evan looked at Lyra. He felt her concern rise instantly through the bond. "You want to use humans as emergency tools," Evan said. "No," the director replied. "We want to understand why this works. Understanding and using are not the same thing," Evan said quietly. The room grew tense. Lyra stepped forward. "This bond was not designed as a model. It was an emergency response. Forcing similar conditions could cause harm." The analyst shifted. "We are not suggesting rituals." "Good," Evan muttered. The director raised a hand. "No one will be forced. This would be voluntary." Evan laughed softly, without humor. "You really don't understand humans if you think pressure doesn't count as force." Silence followed. After the meeting, Evan and Lyra walked slowly through the station's long central corridor. The lights reflected off curved walls, and distant voices echoed softly. "They are afraid," Lyra said.
"Of what?" Evan asked. "Of you," she replied.
"Of what your presence changes."
Evan stopped walking. "I don't want to be something people are afraid of." She turned to face him.
"Fear is not always negative, but I understand your concern." He sighed. "Back home, whenever humans were good at something, someone tried to turn it into a system. That history weighs on you," she said.
"Yes." The bond carried her sympathy clearly.
It surprised him how comforting that felt. Over the next few days, Evan noticed changes in how others treated him. Not hostility, caution, careful words, more eyes watching him during meetings, more invitations to join planning sessions. He declined most of them. Lyra noticed his growing discomfort. "You are withdrawing," she said one evening. "Protective instinct," Evan replied. "If I stay quiet, they can't turn me into a solution." She considered this. "But the problems remain." "Yes," he said. That's the worst part." The station faced a real challenge soon after. Not an emergency ritual-level event, but serious enough. A long-range relay malfunction threatened communication with nearby systems. Multiple species had a stake in the outcome, and tensions rose quickly. The council requested Evan and Lyra again. Evan closed his eyes briefly before agreeing. "Last time," he said, "we help fix this, then we talk boundaries." Lyra nodded. "Agreed." They entered the relay control sector together. The atmosphere was thick with overlapping conversations, different communication styles clashing. The relay itself glowed unevenly, its systems trying to compensate. Evan felt the bond sharpen, not pulling, but aligning. "Okay," he said calmly. "Everyone take one step back." Not physically, mentally. Some listened immediately. Others hesitated. Lyra raised her voice slightly, enough to carry authority. "Human Evan Hale, we'll coordinate." That got attention. Evan outlined a simple plan. Break the problem into shared goals. Assign roles based on strengths, not hierarchy. Speak one at a time. Confirm understanding before acting. It was basic human teamwork. It worked. The relay stabilized. Later analysis showed something new. Even after Evan and Lyra left, the teams continued using his coordination style. The improvement lasted. That scared the council more than the bond itself. That night, Evan sat alone in the observation garden. Lyra joined him quietly. "They are discussing policy changes," she said. "I figured," Evan replied. "They may formally designate humans as stabilizing agents during crises." Evan stared at the distant stars. "We didn't come here to be tools." "No," Lyra agreed. "But you also did not come to hide." He smiled faintly. "You sound like you're defending me." "I am," she said simply. The bond warmed. "Lyra," Evan said after a moment. "If this keeps growing, if they push too hard, I might leave the station." Her reaction was immediate, sharp, fear, quickly controlled. "You would break proximity," she said. "I know," he replied gently. "That's why I'm telling you." She was silent for a long time. "When the ritual declared you my mate," she said slowly, "I felt shame, fear, confusion. Now I feel respect." He looked at her. "I do not want to lose this bond," she continued, "but I do not want you trapped by it." Evan nodded. "Then we need to choose our next steps together." That word echoed between them. Choose. The council met again. This time, Evan was invited to speak freely. "You see a pattern," Evan said to them. "I see people. You want to scale this up, but you don't understand the cost." "What cost?" asked the elder. "Humans don't stabilize by being calm machines," Evan said. "We stabilize by caring. By choosing responsibility, you can't order that." The elder studied him. "Then what do you propose?" "Partnership," Evan said. "Not designation. Voluntary cooperation. Clear limits and choice." The room went quiet. Lyra stepped forward. "If you ignore this, the bond will strain. Not just ours. Others like it if they form." "Others?" someone asked. "Yes," she said. "You cannot prevent humans from forming bonds if they continue to integrate. You can only decide whether those bonds are respected." The council recessed. Hours later, a message came. No forced programs, no mandatory roles, a trial framework based on consent, cooperation, and human-led coordination when invited. Evan felt relief wash through him. So did Lyra. But with relief came realization. Their bond was no longer just personal. It had changed policy. The station? Possibly more. As they stood together again in the garden, Evan spoke quietly. "Part of me wishes this never happened. Lyra tilted her head.
And the rest?
He smiled. The rest is curious what happens next. The Bond responded, steady and warm. Across the station, observers recorded a final note for the day. Human presence. Destabilizing expectations. Human influence, stabilizing outcomes. Conclusion pending. The galaxy was beginning to pay attention. And the bond that began as an accident was becoming a choice. The station felt different now. Not in a way that could be measured easily, but in the way people moved through its halls. Conversations paused more often, not from fear, but from thought. Different species listened more carefully. Disagreements still happened, but they ended sooner, softer. Evan Hale noticed it every day. He stood near one of the wide observation windows, looking out at the stars. Somewhere far beyond them was Earth. He had not thought about home much since the bond formed, but now the thought returned often. Choice mattered to humans. Behind him, Lyra approached quietly. He felt her before he heard her, the bond gentle and familiar now, like a shared rhythm. "You are thinking about leaving," she said. Evan did not turn. "I'm thinking about staying." She stepped beside him, her reflective eyes turned toward the stars. "Those thoughts are not opposites." He smiled faintly. "You're learning human logic." "I am adapting," she replied. "As you are." The council had made their decision. The trial framework was approved. Humans would not be assigned or designated as stabilizers. Instead, they would be invited, asked, respected. A small change in wording, but a massive shift in meaning. Evan had helped write that language himself. Still, one question remained unanswered. The bond. It could not be ignored forever. The council requested one final meeting. Not an interrogation. Not a hearing. A discussion. Evan and Lyra entered the chamber together for the last time. The atmosphere was calmer than before. Curious, but no longer tense. The elder Cathari spoke first. "The emergency cohesion bond remains active?"
"Yes," Lyra replied. "Yes," Evan echoed.
"The bond has exceeded its intended duration," the elder continued. "This is unprecedented." Evan leaned forward slightly. "So is everything about it." A ripple of quiet acknowledgement passed through the room. "The council must ask," the elder said, "whether this bond will be maintained." Lyra felt the question like a weight. Evan felt it like a crossroad. "If it ends," the elder added, "it must be done deliberately, with preparation. The consequences are unknown." Evan took a slow breath. "And if it continues, then it becomes something else," the elder said. "Not a ritual outcome, a personal bond." Chosen silence followed. Lyra looked at Evan. Through the bond, she felt his uncertainty, his care, his fear of obligation. She also felt something steady beneath it all. Resolve. "I will speak," Evan said. The council waited. "I did not choose this bond," he said calmly. "It happened to me during a crisis. That matters. But what matters more is what came after." He looked around the chamber. "I was treated like an anomaly, then like a solution. Neither felt right." Some council members shifted, uncomfortable but listening. "This bond works because it respects cooperation, not control," Evan continued, "because it responds to choice, not force." He turned to Lyra. "If it continues," he said, "it will be because we both want it, not because a ritual demands it, not because a council finds it useful." Lyra felt something tighten in her chest. Not fear. Emotion. She stepped forward. "Among my people, emergency bonds are accepted without question. They are duty, survival." This one became something else. She met Evan's gaze openly. I choose clarity over tradition. I choose consent over expectation. The room remained silent. The elder Ketheri lowered its head slightly. Then the council recognizes this bond as voluntary, not ritual, not requirement. Evan exhaled. Lyra felt the bond shift, not weaken, change. The pressure vanished completely, replaced by something quieter, warmer, and unmistakably mutual. The bond no longer held them together. They were standing together by choice. After the meeting, Evan felt lighter than he had in weeks. The constant awareness was still there, but it no longer felt imposed. It felt shared. They walked through the station slowly, not needing to hurry. You know, Evan said, back home, humans say the strongest bonds are the ones you can walk away from, but don't. That is a strange idea. Most good ones are, he replied. She studied him. Does this mean you will stay? He thought about it. Earth. Exploration. Responsibility. Yes, he said. For now. On my terms. She nodded. Then I will stay as well. On mine. They both smiled. News of the council's decision spread beyond the station faster than expected. Other installations requested information. Not about the ritual. About the choice. Humans gained a new reputation. Not as conquerors or saviors, but as stabilizers who refused to be owned. Partners who asked questions. Allies who worked best when respected. It confused many species. It inspired others. Evan returned to his work as a xenolinguist, but his role changed naturally. He became a bridge, not because he was assigned, but because people trusted him. Lyra continued her research, now with fewer expectations and more freedom. She and Evan worked together often, but not always. Distance no longer hurt. Proximity no longer controlled. The bond remained because they wanted it to. One evening they stood again in the observation garden. The plants glowed softly, reacting to their calm presence.
You changed many things, Lyra said. So did you.
Evan replied. She tilted her head. Do humans often reshape systems by accident? He laughed quietly. More than we'd like to admit. They stood in comfortable silence. Across the station, a new protocol was quietly added to emergency systems. Before any ritual activation, a single question would appear. Is consent possible? It was a small line of code. It changed everything. Evan looked out at the stars again, but this time, he did not feel pulled between worlds. He felt grounded. Humanity had not been chosen by an ancient ritual because it was powerful or superior. It was chosen because, even in crisis, it asked the most dangerous question of all. Do we agree? And because of that, the galaxy would never look at humans the same way again. Not as tools, not as accidents, but as partners who chose to stand together.